switching and PCB, right? And today we will cover process scheduling. Right. So just do one thing. You just copy it to here. Okay. So in the last class we understood PCB and context switch, and today we are covering process scheduling. So what do you understand by process scheduling? Process scheduling means you are scheduling your processes for any particular resource. And in this time we are talking about CPU, and we are we already know that we are talking about uniprocessor environment. That means we have single processor in our system. Single processor system. Right, that means we have only one CPU with us for all the processing of all the processes available in the system, right? But the problem is here that CPU only we have n number of processes in the system, one dot 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 n, and every process needs CPU for its execution, right? Every process needs CPU for its processing or completing its task, right? So that means CPU is in shared at this time CPU is a shared resource, right? And every process is sharing this, right? So what is the responsibility of operating system here is that it must allocate CPU to every process one after another, one by one, right? Because one CPU can process only one process at a time. See, this is the boundary condition we have. That's why we are going to process scheduling. That means we need to schedule our processes. What are the processes we have in the system? We must schedule them to different queues, system queues available with us for complete execution of that particular process, right? So for that system, what system do, system maintain some types of some different types of queues for them, right? Like ready queue. In the last class we had ready queue. Ready queue, in the similar fashion there may be multiple types of queues available, like disk queue, or we may say not disk, we may say device queue. And these queues consist of all the PCBs of all the currently running or waiting processes in the system, right? तो हमारे पास जितने भी प्रोसेसेस रनिंग में है या वेटिंग में है वो अब इस टाइम पे किसी न किसी टाइम पे अपने या तो रेडी क्यू में होंगे या डिवाइस क्यू में, अकॉर्डिंग टू देयर नेचर, राइट? और जो हमारी रेडी क्यू है, जो भी हमारे रेडी क्यू है, ये होल्ड, और जो भी हमारे डिवाइस क्यू है ये होल्ड कर रही है PCBs of our processes, process 1, process 2, process 3, so on, process 5, process 6, process 7, and so on, right? And the both hold PCBs of processes, right? Generally ready queue is maintained in physical memory, physical memory, or we can say it RAM, right? And device queue generally maintained in device queue, or you can say disk queue. If that device is disk, then definitely this will reside in disk. And if that particular device has its own memory, its own spool of memory, then it will go to that particular device queue, right? So this queuing method is used. This queuing method is used for for process scheduling. See, where you need to schedule anything, we need to schedule anything, either it is process, either it is user. We need to schedule them only whenever they are working in the shared medium, shared environment, right? And in our case, what we are sharing among them, that is CPU, because we have single CPU and we have multiple processes. Processes, those want CPU services, right? So CPU is a shared resource. So whenever we are dealing with a shared resource, definitely we need to schedule our processes or users, right? In the similar way, operating system does that by using multiple queues, right? And in the simple scenario, once once a process gets CPU, after CPU, there may be multiple possibilities. After CPU, process could issue an IO request. That means it will be queued in IO queue, right? Or second case may be process create sub processes and wait to terminate, right? प्रोसेस सब प्रोसेस क्रिएट कर सकता है और वेट करेगा जब तक कि सब प्रोसेस अपने टास्क कंप्लीट ना कर लें। जैसे ही टास्क कंप्लीट करके चले जाएंगे, वैसे ही उसका वो जो उसका पेरेंट प्रोसेस है वो टर्मिनेट होने के लिए रेडी हो जाएगा। नेक्स्ट पॉसिबल कंडीशन इज process may be rescheduled on time slice expiry. In this case, we are talking about time sharing system. Time sharing system, right? And fourth case may be due to interrupt process could be removed forcibly from CPU and put back to ready queue. These are the four possible conditions where a process can be scheduled into different queues according to their nature. Like a process could issue a IO request. A process can create sub process and wait for the children to complete their task, right? And a process can be rescheduled on time slice expiry. I already explained that time slice, right? And fourth one case may be due to interrupt, process could be removed forcibly from the CPU and put back to the ready queue. That but those interrupts would be high priority interrupts. For low priority interrupts, it will not do that. But for high priority interrupts, it will do that, right? So we can understand by any queue like that. Let's say we are ready queue may look like this: head, tail. It may be a linked list of PCBs, right? It could be so PCB1, PCB1, PCB2, PCB3, PCB N, right? So it will be a chain of PCBs like this manner. We can view logical view of ready queue like this, that it will be having head and tail, and head pointer, it's look like linked list. Head pointer point to first PCB, and first PCB's pointer point to second PCB, third PCB, like that, and the last PCB pointer point to tail, right? In the similar way, you can in the same way, disk queue or device queue may be seen in logical view in the same way. It also has head and tail, and similar way PCB1, PCB2, PCB3, PCBN, and tail will target to last PCB, right? This is the logical view. Not exactly this happened to there. You cannot say that this will be the case, that this in the same fashion it will be managed, but in general the logical view of ready queue is something like that, right? We have head pointer and we have tail pointer, and head pointer points to first PCB, first PCB pointer to points to second PCB, like that, and one after another CPU process all the PCBs, pick one after another, right, according to scheduler instruction, right? So these are the cases, and now we just what we do, we are we can see queuing diagram representation of process scheduling. इसको हम देख लेते हैं, उससे आपको ये ज्यादा क्लियर हो जाएगा. अब दूसरा आपने क्या करना, विद्युत ग्राफ में सेट की वैल्यू सेट इन और सेट स्टेट, ठीक है. अब दोनों में स्टेटमेंट और रिजल्ट स्टेटमेंट में क्या डिफरेंस है. अब सपोज आप स्टेटमेंट के थ्रू आप इंसर्शन कर रहे हो, स्टेटमेंट के थ्रू अगर आप we will have ready queue, तो जब भी आप स्टेटमेंट CPU कंपाइलेशन प्रोसेस होगा, terminate वो डेटाबेस के पास गई, वैल्यू सर्च करी और फिर वापस दोबारा मतलब कंपाइलेशन terminate After CPU, there may be the case that a process may request IO, then it will be queued in IO queue, and once IO completed it goes back to ready queue. Second case may be time slice expired. Expired. Then the step process may be rescheduled to ready queue. And third case may be that particular process can fork a child. Fork a child. Right. Once child execute, it could again rescheduled to ready queue, right? And last case may be wait for an interrupt occur interrupt occurred, then again is rescheduled to ready queue. So this may be the cases of all four cases we have discussed here. Here all cases we discussed here are represented by queuing representation, right? Queuing diagram representation. So what you understand by this diagram is simply whenever a process is generated or created, it's first allocated to ready queue, right? Here let us choose next color. Once a new process being created, it is assigned to ready queue. Let's say P1, P2, P3, P4, right? And after assigning ready queue, the process may what the process is doing here, it is simply waiting for the CPU, right? Once the OS or scheduler pick one process from here to CPU and given the control of the CPU to that particular process is being executed that time. That means it comes in running state, right? Here it is in ready state, right? Remember the diagram, state transition diagram. Here it is in ready state, and once it gets CPU, it is in running state. And if it's terminate, that means it comes in terminate state, right? But before terminate, it could be there may be the chance that that particular process, let's say P1 request a IO device, right? If it requests a IO device, CPU, what OS does, it assigned to that particular IO device, that process is being assigned to that particular IO device, IO queue, right? Here, IO queue, and pick another process for running so that we can achieve maximum throughput from CPU, so that our CPU could not be ideal for any time, right? Okay. After, or there may be the case that process.
Hello, sir.
Yes, bache.
Sir, what is the meaning of throughput, sir?
We will discuss it later, beta.
Okay, sir.
I think you have not joined class from day one, right? That's why you are asking this question, right? Okay, no issue. I will discuss it later. Just first complete this. Okay, this is the first case when a process after getting CPU, it requests IO device, right? For that, in that case, OS gives OS allocate that particular process to IO queue, and there it will wait for that particular IO device, and once that device uh, got free, once that device got free, it will be executed, and after completion of the its IO task, it will be again rescheduled to ready queue, because CPU picks all the process from ready queue, right? And these all are the cases where we can say these processes are in waiting state. In all these four cases, that if any process comes under in these four cases, it will be in waiting state. So these all queues are waiting queues, right? Okay, second case may be that a process is running, P1 is running, and after let's say we have time slice 0.5 second. So after 0.5 second, P1 gets P1 will be suspended, and new process will be given a chance to take control over CPU, right? New process will be taken up, right? And P1 will wait for this time slice. Once time slice expire, it will again reschedule to ready queue, and after re, uh, ready queue, after getting ready queue, it will get chance by CPU, right, for processing. Third case may be, let's P1 creates its sub childrens for complex tasks. It creates its children for simplicity, and wait for the childrens to complete their task. Once their childrens complete their task, it will be again rescheduled to ready queue, right? And fourth case may be due to high priority interrupt, that P1 gets suspended, and interrupt process will get CPU and complete their task, and after the completion of that interruption process, that particular suspended process will get the chance to again take control of that CPU for completion of their task. So this is the queuing diagram, right? So these 4 points we have discussed here, that after getting CPU, one process may falls under these 4 points, are very nicely presented in this diagram, right? Now you could understand that these are the scheduling of a process, and and in the whole life cycle of a process, a process may get ready queue, running state, waiting state, and last terminate state, right? You understood those points? Okay, so these are the working principle of operating system process scheduling, right? But how which function provide this facility, or which function tells CPU that this process, you have to pick this process, right? How in which fashion any in which fashion OS recommend processes to CPU? It is totally dependent on schedulers. So next we cover scheduler, right? So in the whole life cycle, process migrates or process transit between various scheduling algorithms, queues, like that. Various scheduling queues, these are the waiting queues and these are the ready queues, and in the whole life cycle of a process, it may migrate between various queues, right? So OS must select a process from those queues for scheduling purpose in some fashion, right? And this selection process is carried out by appropriate scheduler. So we have scheduler. What is it? What is the function of scheduler? It is simply a scheduler. What scheduler does? It simply select a particular process for CPU, right? And dispatch that particular process to the CPU. Scheduler simply uh, select one process out of many process in the system for CPU, and after selection dispatcher will just dispatch that particular process to CPU, so that that particular process have control of CPU, and CPU at that time CPU execute that processes the instructions of that particular process and complete it, right? So in schedulers we have in the system, there are two types, right? There are two types, although there are three types, but major categories, when we talking about major category, it is of two type. First is long term scheduler, or we can say it job scheduler. Scheduler. Okay. And second we have short term scheduler, or CPU scheduler. Right. We just first we make diagram so that you can understand it easily. Okay. We have disk here. In disk we have multiple jobs. Job 1, job 2, dot, job n. Right. This is the spool of disk. We can also known as, this is also known as spool of disk, right? And we have main memory. Main memory, right? And in the memory we have multiple processes of those particular jobs which will be dispatched from here to here, right? And after memory, any process is allocated to CPU, right? This is the basic principle of working principle of operating system, right? So here in main memory, process 1, process 2, dot, process n, right? From the disk, which scheduler work here? From it is a job of job scheduler who picks the jobs from disk to RAM. So at this point, our long-term scheduler will work, and from the main memory to CPU, here short-term scheduler will work, or we can say CPU scheduler, and we can say job scheduler. So once if any we want to execute any program, we have to just move that program from disk to memory. We have to just load that particular program to from disk to main memory, and this job is done by long-term scheduler. Why we are telling we are referencing it long term? Because time taken to access the disk or hard disk or secondary memory is much higher than time taken to access main memory, right? That's why this is termed as long-term scheduler or job scheduler, because at the disk level we understand programs as a job, right? After long-term scheduler, once long-term scheduler does its jobs, that means that particular job is moved to primary memory, main memory, and now it is referencing by name process. Now it is converted to process. That means it is in execution phase, right? And even in the RAM there may be n number of processes at the same time, right? And from those n number of processes, short-term scheduler will choose any one process to give control of CPU to that particular process, right? Why we are telling it short term, we are calling it short term scheduler? Because time taken to access memory, primary memory, is less than long term disk, right? Disk, right? So it will be the process of short term scheduler will be the fast, and long term scheduler will be slow, right? Right. So by diagram, you could understand it easily that there are two types of scheduler: long term and short term. But in modern computers, we have further category of medium term scheduler. This will be the case when swapping is enabled in the system. Let's draw diagram of it first. Ready queue. We have ready queue. We have CPU. New process. IO waiting. Queue. IO device. And second case may be partially executed process. And that may be reloaded. Okay, swapped out, swap in, and here and a new process, right? So in those two cases, there may be the chance that we are using medium term scheduler. This is the job of medium term scheduler, that any process running in the system could be swapped out because of interrupt. This is the case. First upper one is the case of interrupt, and it is swapped out of the CPU, from the CPU, and rescheduled to ready queue for next handling, right? And second may be the case that that running process may require IO device, so this medium term scheduler will schedule it to IO waiting queue, and there that particular process will wait for the IO device, and after getting IO device, it will complete its task and again come to ready queue for the termination process, right? So this scheduler is the logical scheduler, right? There is no additional logic for that in the operating system, but when we are using swapping method in the system, that means we are having medium term scheduler in between, right? So these are the various types of schedulers we have in the system, operating system. First one is long term scheduler, which works between disk and physical memory, RAM. And what is the task of that particular scheduler? It will pick one job from the disk and load it to RAM. That is the only task of that particular scheduler, right? And after getting in the main memory, the, one process out of these n processes in the main memory will be taken up and given the control of CPU, and this is all done by short-term scheduler. These are the basic two schedulers we have. But the third one, medium-term scheduler, comes when we are using swapping method, right? And there are maybe two cases that running process may require IOQ demand IO. That's why it is rescheduled to IOQ waiting queue. And there may be the chance that at the time of running at the time of execution of any particular process, there may be a high priority interrupt. That's why that particular process will be swapped out and again swapped into ready queue for future execution, right? That's why it's written over there, partially executed process. So okay, this is all